Hello and welcome to Just and Dwyer Artistry. Today we're off on our first plein air adventure. We're painting outside and I'm painting a tree. Those of you who follow me on Instagram will recognise this tree as I've painted it before. I've got a portable easel set up, my palette, a little bit of medium and a canvas board. I'm set up and I'm ready to go. I start by marking out the basic shapes of the tree. I'm using burnt sienna for this. I'm going to map out the whole painting first with one colour. This allows me to make sure that everything fits in the canvas. Today's adventure is taking place in the area where I live. I live in the northern part of New South Wales in Australia, in an area called the Northern Tablelands. The place I live is almost 1400 metres above sea level, and that's about 4,500 feet for those of you that live in the US. The scene that I'm painting today is very close to home, however. It's actually one that I can see out my window when I'm sitting inside. But it wouldn't be much of an outdoor adventure if I was to sit inside and paint it through the window, now would it? Another benefit to painting everything in one colour is that I get to map out the values of the painting before I actually add the colours. This can be a good trick for a beginner to help you understand value and colour. I'm using a rag to wipe away excess paint where I want to make it even thinner. On this particular trip, I don't have anything to thin my paint with except a little bit of medium. Quite often I will start out with very thin paint with a lot of turpentine in it. I can't do that today because I don't have any turpentine with me, but I can still use the rag to wipe off excess paint and knock back the layers that I want to get lighter. I have a basic palette, a warm and a cool blue, a warm and a cool red, dark brown, a red brown, a yellow ochre, cadmium yellow and titanium white. You might wonder why I'm not using a pre-mixed green in a landscape that's predominantly green. Mainly it's because there aren't too many pre-mixed greens that actually align with real plant colours that I've found. So I mix most of my greens out of cadmium yellow, ultramarine blue and a little bit of burnt umber. What did the tree wear to the pool party? Swimming trunks, of course. There's a light misty rain coming down, and while it's certainly not enough to make a swimming pool, it's definitely enough to make it difficult for the oil paint to stick to the canvas board. I've mixed a pale grey out of some ultramarine blue, some burnt umber and some titanium white. I've mapped out the sky areas with this paint. It's a little bit thicker so it will sit down over the top of the thin burnt sienna that we used underneath. I'm now pushing some foliage into the trees using a small flat brush. The brush has reasonably stiff bristles and I'm able to get a small appearance of the odd straggly stick or twig poking up with it. What did the little tree say to the big tree? Leave me alone. I made this green paint using ultramarine blue, some burnt umber and a little bit of cadmium yellow. Very touch. The more yellow we put, the further forward the green will come in the painting. The more blue we put, the further back the green will go in the painting, and that will help us to achieve a three-dimensional space. Are you enjoying the view of my vegetable garden? I was painting this just a few metres outside of the wall of my house. Sometimes you don't have to travel very far from home to find something really nice to paint or draw. I've added a little bit of titanium white to my tree mix and I'm starting to map out some of the tree line in the background around the base of the trees. The white will help push them further back into the distance and give me a little bit more depth. I make a lighter green with some yellow and that will be to mark out the shape of a willow tree that's sitting down to the right of the main tree. What do you call a tree that's so small you can hold it in your hand? A palm tree, of course. That reminds me of one of my previous plein air adventures. On a recent visit to a seaside town, we were delighted by marvellous, beautiful scenery and many fantastic things to look at and draw. I had some sketching apparatus with me and spent a lovely morning out drawing the boats in the sea and in the river. I was enjoying being out in nature. The sun was shining and warm. There were so many delightful things to look at. The place was so beautiful and serene. It was such a peaceful day. The small seaside town had a wonderful bakery and we bought a tasty delight. I had a quick snack and then back to work, but unfortunately my small chair wasn't up to the task. No footage of me rolling around in the sand, but perhaps you can imagine it for yourself. No such problems for me today because I'm standing up to paint, which is the way I like to do it best. I've only got a short amount of time to capture all the details I want in my painting before the light will change and the whole nature of the painting will change with it. When I came out, I originally had hoped to paint the light coming down onto the tree as the sun rose. However, the clouds were still thick, and even though the misty rain had stopped, there was still no sign of the sun. Why did the sun go to school? To get brighter. I'm filling in the foreground with some extra greens. I've added a lot of yellow and some more white into this section to simulate some of the dried grass that's out in the paddock around the tree. So much for my sunrise, but I'm still loving the adventure of being outside and trying to capture the spirit of this majestic tree before me. Excuse me while I simulate an American accent for this next joke. Why did the pine tree get in trouble? Because it was so naughty! The sky is getting lighter all the time, and the colours that I'm seeing are changing. I'm modifying my painting very slightly as I go, but I'm conscious of the fact that I don't want to change it completely. I know the camera placement hasn't been perfect for this video. I will be careful in future to be able to show you more of the brushstrokes that I'm using to actually build the foliage of the trees. As you may have noticed, there's a large bush right next to the camera, so unfortunately I couldn't get any more angle on it. Unfortunately, it means that all you can see in a lot of the places is my hand going backwards and forwards. What did the finger say to the thumb? I'm in glove with you. But there's no need for gloves today. It's not that cold. It's a lovely summer morning, 9 degrees Celsius, or about 48 degrees Fahrenheit for those of you in the US. I'm experimenting with a few different colours of green on the tree. I'm mixing these using a combination of both the warm and the cool blue, as well as the other colours that I've already mentioned. I know I don't have enough time to really be able to get in and paint detailed sections of the tree with little branches and sticks and twigs everywhere. I'm not really looking to create a finished studio polished painting here. I'm just trying to capture as much information as I can as quickly as I can before it changes. To that end, I'm simply blocking out large shapes with the colours that I'm using and just looking to add in all the different colours that I can see. I'll use this painting as a reference perhaps one day, and then I'll be able to look back and find the colours again. You can use a photograph to help you capture a scene, but when you're standing there painting it in real life, the colours are so much more vibrant, and there is a real depth, a sense of 3 dimensions in everything that you look at and interact with that you will never get out of a photograph. I know not everybody has a view like this just outside their house, but I'm sure that there's something close to you that you could go outside and paint or draw, to give yourself a sense of what this feels like. I would really like to encourage you to join me on this plein air journey. It really is a fantastic way to learn more about light and colour and depth. But what's this? An urgent news broadcast coming in? Stop the press, it's Becky Tregear. Not only is she an excellent artist and a fantastic product reviewer, she's also unbelievably good at spotting koalas. Good on you, Becky. The next fantastic koala spotter is Art with Anne. Anne is a marvellous artist who paints amazing coloured pictures of animals, as well as many other things. And last but not least, it's Carrie Welsh Art. Carrie has amazing abstract paintings that make you wonder all sorts of incredible things. Some of them even look like trees. If you look in the description box just below this video, you'll find links to each of those channels. I definitely urge you, when you finish watching my video, go and watch one of theirs. You'll be glad that you did. What did the tree do when the bank closed? It started a new branch. Our tree is taking shape in the painting. I'm working a few shadows into the bottoms of the trees, under the willow, under the pine trees. I'm using a very soft brush to blend some of my colours together. It's helping cover up some of the last remaining sections of the canvas that aren't covered in with paint. Softening the edges with this brush will push things back a little bit and make them a little bit gentler, which suits the morning light that we have. A lot of the main shapes and masses of colour are in now, so I'm just going to spend a little bit of time working up a few details just to help me capture the character of the scene and the tree that's before me. I don't have too much time to agonise, I just have to work pretty quickly. All up, this tree painting took me around about an hour to do from start to finish. In the studio, I probably would have built it up over multiple days, allowing different layers of paint to dry and then coming back to overlay more layers. It's quite challenging but also exciting to work in one session with wet paint and simply build everything up and try to capture all of the details that I'm looking for. I don't want to go too far with this though. After all the work that I've put in to try to capture the light that was there in the start, now the light is changing and the day is growing brighter. I have a very real risk of losing everything that I've just put down on the canvas and painting a completely different picture to the one that I started out with. What do you get if you cross a cat with a lemon tree? A sourpuss. Of course, it's been tremendous having all of you guys here with me on this little journey today. As I add in a few last little bits of grass and a few little details in the foreground, I would like to leave you with a deep-rooted and heartfelt belief that I have. Everybody who wants to has the ability to draw or paint. This is something that we can all do, we can all share, and we can all enjoy together. My humble little tutorials are designed to teach you some of the principles and elements behind how painting and drawing works. These are things that you can use no matter what you create or how, no matter what mediums you use. I have a major update going on my website right now. There are all kinds of resources already there on the website with new content being added every week, so make sure you check back in frequently. Let me know you've been for a visit. I'd love to see what you think. And if you're not following me on Instagram, make sure you check in there, because next week I'm going to be doing a big announcement with a big giveaway for the month of February. Make sure you go and check me out. Link in the description box below. It was quite dark and overcast early. We had a lot of misty rain and it made it quite difficult to paint, but fortunately the rain has blown away and we've been able to get a little bit of painting in. I've enjoyed myself out here this morning. I've really enjoyed this outdoor adventure. I hope you've enjoyed it as well. I know the painting isn't brilliant, but it's a start, and I'm so glad that I've made it, and I've enjoyed myself immensely, and I have no doubt that I'm going to gain a lot in my artistic skills as I go in this plein air journey, and I'm going to share that journey with you, and I welcome you to come along with me as well, and we can learn together. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Have a wonderful day, and bye-bye.